रवि। रवि। अनिल वगैरह आए नहीं अभी? अच्छा। ओके। cell in GGS IP University. Professor Reddy, as I told, is the professor of USICT and the coordinator of NSS cell of GGS IP University. He is, apart from this, the chairman, centralized career guidance and placement cell, and also chairman for developing Surajmal campus of GGS IP University. He has assorted number of publications in prestigious journals of international repute and has been a member of expert committee for special assistance schemes, UGC, Government of India, and member of various committees constituted by AICTE and UGC. Apart from this, he has been involved in number of administrative and curricular activities. Um, I like to invite Professor BVR Reddy sir, who has always been a source of inspiration for all of us. Being a program coordinator of NSS Cell, he is the inspiration factor, and it's because of him that all of us program officers in GGS IPU, we have been really motivated. And thank you so much, sir, for showing your belief in us, for trusting us. Now I would like to call upon you, sir, and please address our gathering on sanitation. So, ready, sir?
New one, sir. सर सुबह आप लैपटॉप से कनेक्ट लैपटॉप के थ्रू इधर हाँ हाँ तो सर ठीक है
Sir, can you hear me? Ready, sir? I think he's unable to listen to us. Dr. Anil? Hello, Dr. Anil? Can you hear me, Dr. Anil?
हेलो
Hello, Dr. Anil?
जी मैम
Ready, sir, is there? क्योंकि
मैम उनके कनेक्शन की प्रॉब्लम आ रही है वो उनकी रिगार्डिंग रवि रवि अरे रेडी सर की मेल एक बार चेक करूँ उनका पहले लिस्ट में क्या प्रॉब्लम वो कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहे हाँ वो IPNSS LSI क्या था वो देख सर चेक कर वो ट्राई कर रहे कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहे क्या दिक्कत आ रही है वो कह रहे हैं कि उनकी मेल आईडी सही नहीं बता रहा है पहले हेलो हेलो रवि हाँ एक बार चेक करो जल्दी करो ये है nssl@ipu.ac.in अभी हुआ करेक्ट हुआ मेल आईडी भेजू क्या है?
डॉक्टर अनिल,
मैम रेड्डी सर को प्रॉब्लम आ रही कनेक्ट करने में।
प्रॉब्लम आ रही है वो?
हाँ, एक
रेडी सर को बोल दिया मैं।
हाँ रिसीव कर रहे हैं, रिसीव कर रहे हैं। रवि वो रेड्डी रेड्डी सर की मेल आईडी बताओ। हाँ मैंने व्हाट्सएप कर दिया nsscell@ipu.ac.in। कर दिया कनेक्ट।
It's again the connectivity issues. Sir is trying to connect.
शिवानी मैम।
हाँ हाँ मैम।
हाँ मैम, अब स्टार्ट कराइए मैम। सर का एक बार इंट्रोडक्शन दोबारा जी सर हमने अभी कनेक्ट किया।
क्या आपकी आवाज कट रही है, क्या बोल रहे हो?
सर का एक बार इंट्रोडक्शन करा दीजिए, एक बार स्टार्ट करा दीजिए।
दोबारा से
हाँ सर, अब आ गए हैं, ऑनलाइन हो गए हैं।
You might
कर
be
दूं,
the
शुरू फिर से
host.
करूँ? ओके।
You might be the host.
No.
Yes sir,
Welcome,
you are.
sir. We are in this technical talk 2 session, and you'll be speaking on sanitation, sir. I'd already introduced sir, and I was just telling them that it's because of you that we all are here. You are our guiding force, and you are the one who have guided us, who have believed in us, who have taught us everything, sir. So I just introduced, before you joined, I just gave introduction to all the participants. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon sir. Yes sir, you are audible sir.
Right.
Very much audible.
Okay. So, Dr. Anil, if you make me host, then we'll have the presentation also.
Yes, yes sir, yes sir.
Or if you have the presentation there,
No sir. No.
you are now the presenter. Okay. Okay. Share content. Share a file. Sir, would you like to join now, sir? Okay. Okay, sir. अभी हाँ. Sir, right, sir. Sir, the convener is calling you, sir. Please pick up the phone. He will connect you, sir. ठीक sir. अभी अभी कॉल पर करा. अनिल,
Yes sir.
एक बार सर को कॉल कर लेना बिकॉज ही वांट्स टू कनेक्ट, वो हो नहीं पा रहा है, उनसे भी वही दिक्कत आ रही है. प्लीज ट्राई इट आउट. ओके.
Okay sir. अब अभी कर लेता हूँ sir.
या आई विल बी टॉकिंग, यू कैन ट्राई इट. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay in the process. I think everybody is able to listen to me.
Yes.
Okay, so our Honorable Vice Chancellor, who is very keen to be a part of this session, wanted to share his thoughts. But somehow, again, the way I was not able to connect. So here there is a problem with him. As in when he joins, I'll stop my lecture. He will be addressing you. But before that, let me formally welcome my Honorable Vice Chancellor also onto this webinar. So, Dr. Padmashri, Dr. Mahesh Verma ji is the Vice Chancellor of the university and a guiding force for us. And we are able to conduct many such webinars, and this being another session 2, where I would be talking on sanitation. So I think you had a wonderful session in the morning about water conservation. I think water conservation and waste management, these two become very, very important components in ensuring that the sanitation also is a success. So without water, without waste management, which includes wastewater management and garbage. So if we don't have proper facilities for doing so, then we'll be having issues related to sanitation too. So that makes it, we need to address the problem of sanitation by taking cue that we have proper water management system as well as the waste waste treatment that can be done. So we are all aware that the topic that I'm going to discuss is a very important topic on sanitation. And then when we look at the origins of sanitation, the subject of sanitation is as old as the mankind who started living in a civilized society. So whenever this civilization has started, we did have this problem. And since what is what is civilization is that whenever we form a group and start living harmoniously, then there is a need for proper sanitation facilities, and we needed to scale it up as the civilization grew from villages to then to towns, and from towns to cities, and then all these cities have been developing at a rapid rate, with the population increasing at an ever increasing rate. And with this dense population living in a small area, it becomes a very difficult task for providing all the sanitation facilities, which is nothing but a grid of water reaching your homes, and then whatever garbage that is developed at your home or your locality, others, has to be disposed of in a proper way, so that hand in hand, water conservation, waste management, and sanitation go hand in hand together. So, I mean, this is not to demean our villages, because civilization started and we started with villages only. So we have somewhere around 65,000 odd villages in this country. Definitely, they also need a proper sanitation facilities. And we know, as I said, the importance of water, sanitation, hygiene, and public health. So they have a project called WASH, WASH, which encompasses all these words. And finally, the waste management. So, I think if you start looking at ourselves as a part of this whole society, then in our daily lives or affairs, a lot of activities such as personal hygiene, and we do a lot of activities by maintaining our homes, kitchen, restrooms, etc. We create a lot of garbage, and used water also. We call it as a grey water or wastewater. They also require waste management and sanitary disposal mechanism. So this is not the end of the story. This further involves our neighborhood, our surroundings, localities, cities, whose garbage and waste needs to be shifted to the safe dumping and recycling of garbage and human waste treatment plants. So if these things are in place, we have talked about home, we have talked about our surroundings and localities. Then you have your marketplaces or public utilities. You have industrial waste, and then abattoirs, which also contribute to the waste management and sanitary issues. Now, looking at all these aspects, we understand it's a huge task of providing safe means of sanitation, and personal hygiene and everything involves requisite water and requisite wastewater treatment facilities. Now, it is said that each person requires at least 135 liters per person per day. So you can imagine if we are 8 billion people in the world, then you can imagine the kind of water requirement that we have. I think you have got sensitized in the first lecture itself about what is the availability of water. Is it equally available at all places? Whether the rainfall is good for all in these areas. So the answer is a big no. There are areas which are drought areas. There are areas, so that makes it, even when you look at sanitation facilities, they also needs to be area specific. They cannot be one thumb rule or one way of providing a sanitation. So beyond this sanitation, let's say everything is fundamentally well and you created such a atmosphere for creating a good. Yeah. Now, am I audible? So far, I am not audible or audible. Hello.
So you were audible?
Now
Yes.
audible, sir.
Okay. So continuing with this, we have sensitized with our homes, with our localities and others. We are not aware of the compounding nature of this particular problem. Imagine famines, imagine fury in the form of cyclones, tsunamis, earthquakes, and man-made disasters. under these conditions,
अब
sanitation
ये आ रहा है तेरे सामने जो है
sanitation becomes much more an intense problem, and this affects the whole entire community. Now, there are issues which have a multiplier effect under the conditions of development of unauthorized or unorganized colonies and jugi clusters, where availability of water or sanitation facilities and disposal system or mechanism is non-existent. So, I'm trying to give you sensitize what is the requirements and how we are able to work on to it. Now, we all are made out of five elements, and these are our natural resources. Now, the other intent or the other problem is it is said that almost 40% of the earth and its inhabitants do not have proper sanitation facilities. What could be the reason for that? Though they are equitable, all the five elements are equitable, and we are also made out of these five elements, but these five elements are, and the sanitation facilities are not equitable. So that makes it, we need to find a way out to find out ways and means that all the 100% people living on earth have got good sanitation facilities. So that makes it's a huge task, huge number of people living on earth, and then we do understand the undercurrent of it. The reasons we can look out why it is not 100% as on date is as the cost involved in delivering to the doorstep. What the water facility to be delivered to the host doorstep, and the sewage system, and the other facilities of cleaning your garbage, taking them to dump yards. It all involves a lot of cost. So when we are looking at this cost, so the rapid urbanization, rapid population, limitations of natural resources at different places, and then no replenishment strategies. That makes it we are not working on to strategies of replenishing the kind of resources that we have because we don't have infinite supply. So we need to worry on this. And then, as I said, 135 liters per person per day is something which is a equitable distribution. However, there is unequitable distribution that happens, which comes in terms of urbanization and more facilities to be given there, and it should be given to more tax-paying capacity people. And what about the poor capacity building right? And then we keep telling the civic agencies have not provided proper sanitation facilities, so on and so forth. Now, over and above this, we have a social stigma. You know, understand what is social stigma. Here, we say that we are not responsible for all this because we don't have any awareness and we don't participate in sanitation drives. And worst, we do not have civic sense. We contribute to throwing litter in public spaces. So that makes it so all the garbage that is collected is generated by each individual, then it becomes the responsibility of each individual to take part in these activities, starting from your home, so on and so forth. Now, the question is, what if I don't participate? What if I am not interested in sanitation at all? So then the question is, what's the big deal? It is not, then we say, the big deal is, this is what is very important. What will happen if we don't have proper sanitation facilities? I don't need to tell you, you're all sensible enough to understand your daily routine gets disturbed. Whenever you wake up, you need a bucket of water, you need some procedures to be followed, then you get up and get ready. So all these things will come to a naught. You will not be able to do all of these things because the water is scarce. Water hasn't come. Now, even if water is there, if no proper sanitation uh, facilities or removing them is not available, then also you are in trouble. So if you say all these things are fine, but what's the big deal? Then the answers are like this. The first and foremost thing is it will lead to unhygienic environment where we live. What will happen ultimately is I think we have Professor Dr. Mahesh Vermaji available with us. I'll stop a little while to listen to the address of my honorable professor and honorable vice chancellor, sir. I hand over the mic to Anil.
Hello. Hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Namaskar. You are audible, sir.
Voice is audible, sir.
Yeah, I'm so sorry actually to barge in like this. I'm on the road in the car, and but nevertheless, I didn't want to leave this opportunity. Earlier also in the morning, I tried couple of times, but because of some glitches, I was not able to join. And really appreciate Dr. BBR Reddy for all the activities and all the endeavors. He's kept us busy during this lockdown period, and we also have today's two three very keynote speakers, Dr. Sushmita Mahapatra, and Professor Vivek Kumar, Professor Dharmender Saini, Principal of Bharati Vidya College of Engineering, and Professor Vivek Kumar from IIT Delhi. And we also have two of our program officer, NSS, one from Bharati Vidyapeeth, Dr. Anil Kumar, and our own Dr. Shivani Goswami from our university. So it's a great pleasure, and really want to congratulate NSSL for all the activities, and also especially today's webinar, which is highlighting the importance of one of the most fundamental necessities of our life. And as we all know that we talk about five Panch Tattva, Akash, Vayu, Prithvi, Agni or Jal. And I think today's webinar is all about that. And we also know that ये जो पांचों तत्व है इनका हम कैसे दुरुपयोग करते हैं, कैसे हमने इसका शोषण किया है. And I leave it to your judgment to decide where we are going in the society, and we are only good enough to sustain us itself. So, all we have to do is to wake up and take action. I think this pandemic is a big wake up call for all of us. And I think when we are talking about NSS and especially the young youth, I think they have a crucial role in changing the status quo, what is happening all around. And the youth have the inner strength also, not only to stagnate or grow, but resistant to change, but to stay open to the new possibilities. And it is the power of the spirit to, to not to succumb to any such situation. And I salute all the volunteers, NSS volunteers, who have taken multiple roles, especially in this post-lockdown phase. And it makes me really extremely proud to see our young students, not only from our university, from elsewhere, taking on the world with responsibility in their hands and fire in their belly. They want to do something. And uh, also that we know that our country is not just big cities, metros, and the India lives in villages, and 70% of India is Bharat. And for India to progress, I think we must take sustainability right to the grassroots level. And developing the rural economy will be India's sling into the new world, actually. And rural India is worse hit in this during this period because of the pandemic. And how do we use our resources intelligently so that we can represent India's villages and help connect India with Bharat, so that policies can benefit both the rural as well as the urban Indians. In India, what can truly make a difference is idea of community participation, and we have to learn to innovate and create self-sufficient systems. And NSS has a key role to play in empowering community. In the past 1 month, we have seen how India has adopted the philosophy of self-reliance, the Atam Nirbharta, and I know that a lot of our NSS volunteers have contributed to it. I want to share with you that me, when I was a student, back in 70s, I was an NSS volunteer myself, and as an NSS volunteer, I have during the college days we have done a number of activities, and I never knew one day that I will have that opportunity to lead a very strong NSS cell of our university. At that time, my thinking was very contracted. I never knew that NSS has such a huge potential, and NSS is such a huge network because it was all limited to the college at that time. But I'm very proud that the youth who are enrolled with NSS are contributing to the nation building at a much deeper level than the bigger corporations ever. There is much more power and much more meaning in the work that NSS is doing. While this pandemic has given us glimpse of what our biological limitations are, it has also reintroduced the sanctity of nature to us. We have started looking at the nature very differently, and we will value the environment more, we will value the water more, we will value the life more, and hopefully we will value each other. And that is the what I said, that Panch Tattva jo hai, that is the star, that is the that is that is the genesis of the entire ecosystem. I take this opportunity to congratulate and appreciate Professor Reddy and all the entire program officers and the keynote speakers of NSSL for their contributions and commitment, for the nation building. Thank you, Jai Hind. I'm sorry. Uh,
No, no, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much,
I'm
sir.
Thank you
doing
so
it
much, sir.
while sitting in a car,
But
but nevertheless, I'm here because I did not want to leave this opportunity to, to encourage you, to motivate you, to boost you up. So, my best wishes, not only for the webinar, but all your endeavors, all your activities which you are engaged in.
thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views, your insights.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for words of
Thank you,
wisdom.
sir.
So, should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it was a very nice intervention, and then a wonderful ideas thrown by our own honorable vice chancellor. In fact, the lecture started with these ideas only, and then suddenly we had understood that this is how. Now we were trying to sensitize ourselves what is the importance of sanitation and water management as well as waste disposal systems. Now the question is, I said, if I as an individual do not contribute to this, that makes it becomes a mess, and then we do not understand where we are heading towards to. Now, as a strong-headed person, I would always argue, what's the big deal if I don't do the sanitation aspects at home or in the surroundings? Then it will lead to unhygienic environment where we live, and also it will probably lower our lifespan. So this is a very important thing, that our health will be at peril, and then the lifespans are also going down. Now, loss of personal health as well as the community health. I think pandemic has taught us this thing, that it is not in us that we contribute, but we should ensure that as a community we contribute for all these three aspects. Now, the question, and then you also have to understand and sensitize to this matter, that there is a high infant mortality rate and communicable diseases such as cholera, diarrhea, dysentery, hepatitis A, typhoid, and polio, and exacerbates stunning and pandemic situations like what we have seen. Then what happens if you have poor sanitation? It reduces our social and economic development also. In the eyes of the world, we'll be seen very poorly if we don't have a proper sanitation facility, and we can't invite anybody to this country. So even if you look at it as a yardstick, water conservation, waste management, and sanitation becomes very, very important component when we look at the social as well as the economic development of a country. So the human well-being and its impacts, such as anxiety, risk of sexual assault, and loss of educational opportunities, these are all what we have seen during pandemic. So that makes it, if these things have to we wait, or we have to wake up to that occasion and then see this subject as a very, very important component. Now, what if I don't do? Because we have been sensitizing to the ideas that if we don't do, what is going to go wrong? Now, everybody feels guilty about it. My intention was to make you guilty also. And I also want to tell you that we are the reasons for this current mess. So we need to wake up. And if they see like this, definitely there will be arguments on your side. What will be the argument? It is not the responsibility of me. It is the responsibility of the civic bodies. Now, what constitutes a civic body and all these things are known to us. And how much of funds are allocated to it, how much of these civic bodies are able to maintain all these things is again something we need to. Then our responsibility doesn't come down by throwing our responsibilities on only the civic bodies. Now, the next one we always complain is the government is the reason and for not doing what they are supposed to do. Now, with a huge country like this, you have understood in 2014, Honorable Prime Minister has made it as a clarion call. And then he said sanitation becomes very, very important. Even many of them mocked when he said we don't have proper lavatory systems for everybody to use. So, and then there is a lot of open defecation. So this becomes a very, very vital point that equitable distribution of these things are a must if we want to survive as a community. Now, then we have this problem of scarce or non-availability of resources, and probably we blame corruption also as a part of the thing. Now, this lack of proper civil amenities, lack of planning, lack of execution and maintenance, it's a cycle. So if somewhere if the cycle is broken, then also our sanitation facilities will not be good. Meaning thereby whether the water is available or not 24/7 or we don't know how long, and whether the sanitation facilities in and around our campuses or homes are available or not. Is there staff, civic bodies which will remove this waste and then take it to the dumping yards? So we do not have answers to all this. Now, the most important aspect of this is that we talk about these are menial jobs because over the period of 50 years odd I have seen my mother at an younger age never allowed me to do these things. I salute to all mothers. They have taken the role of taking care of you as well as your sanitation needs and other aspects. But then, is it the job of only the underprivileged sanitation workers? Are they not a part of this whole game? Then the other things are you are the breadwinner of the house, so you are not allowed to do these things. You are not to be a part of it. I should admit that my honorable vice chancellor, in his own this thing, he said, "I've been using this time to clean my home, take care of things." I think we should not feel bad about doing things at your home or your locality, contributing yourselves to this particular aspect. Okay, the last thing can be that nobody told me I'm not sensible enough to understand all these things, but I don't take the responsibility of creating this mess. But having said that, these are the usual arguments that we keep forth and then try escape ourselves. But the fact is that now, if you ask me about the way we are conducting ourselves in our homes, everybody aspires to have a luxurious home and then good sanitary facilities at home, and then there should be people who should dispose of all these things and all that. So this is nothing but aspiring for a five-star culture, which India can't afford by giving all these kind of facilities with a huge cost on investment and be able to give it to all men and women in this country. It's not possible. So though we aspire for it, but then what is that we do? All our lives, we keep working hard enough to ensure that our homes, our localities, we stay in such localities which are better off than others. So it has become a rat race. From villages to, we go to municipalities, from municipalities we go to cities, and then everybody wants to stay in the city because there are good sanitary facilities, or there are water facilities, electricity. So this becomes the basic necessities for us, and then we all go into a city kind of an environment where these things are to an extent available to all of them. But the cost, you pay almost 30 to 40% of your cost on your dwelling, and that makes it's a huge amount of money you spend on sanitary things and water, these things, availability of water and all that. So, having said that, so that makes it everybody of us is fighting out how do we get into a good home now and all these aspects. Until unless I get ready in the morning, I'll not be able to do my daily routines. I'll not be well. I cannot do anything that I'm supposed to do for developing my economy or contributing to the society. All these things will not happen. Now, but then remember, if we have to survive, every one of us has to participate in the mission of maintaining personal hygiene, support community, as well as the neighborhood cleanliness. You should be having developed civil responsibility among others by you becoming, I mean, this is directed to my NSS volunteers, and it becomes very, very important for them to understand these aspects of life, and then they become the role models in the society by which they can conduct various awareness programs and raise a collective consciousness in keeping the country clean. So, in this, already our beloved Vice Chancellor has already given a call for these NSS volunteers, wherein he himself was an NSS volunteer at the time when he was studying. But now, as he rightly pointed out, it has become a very big mission, and lot of NSS volunteers are available across the country, which goes into feed pros of those young minds. So, as a student, you should be a part of Swachhata Abhiyan and Jal Shakti Abhiyan proposed by MHRD. I'm going to share these manuals to be adopted by all higher education institutions, all affiliated colleges across us, so that they can use these manuals. And then as a promotional this thing, the MHRD is also giving some weightage to these activities being run in any university or a college, so that they'll be given. I mean, award is not the end game of it, but then participation becomes a very, very important thing. So, particularly these two I'm mentioning, that Swachhata Abhiyan and Jal Shakti Abhiyan, these two are the MHRD promoted, sponsored projects for higher educational institutions. I'll be sharing these two documents with you. You can go through it, and with your discussion with your program officers and sensitizing your principal, you can implement them very easily in your campus. So the story starts at home. That makes it, if we are ready as a group in our colleges or universities to take care of these activities, then we talk about water conservation. That is what the Jal Shakti is talking about. We will take care of sanitation and waste management if we understand or follow the manual that is given to you under Swachhata Abhiyan. These two are very, very important and paramount important for our students. So I give a call to all the NSS volunteers who are listening to it to please contribute yourselves, become role models, and contribute to the society. It goes in a big way that once we start doing it in our universities and colleges, definitely this will teach us many things, and we'll go back to our homes also. Even we would like to contribute at our home to make this a mission. Okay, so as countrymen work to accomplish the bold initiatives taken by our Honorable Prime Minister, also he gave a very good clarity. You will have to end open defecation, and he intended to finish it in 2019. A lot of work has been done, a lot of NGOs, a lot of uh, public were involved into it. It was nice that this country had a wonderful man who understood the problems of a common man and a village, and then he made it amply clear and to the whole country that this is very, very important. Okay, so then as I should not demean all my sanitary workers. We always appreciate the efforts of our sanitary workers, and then we should appreciate this way also, that their lives are not as meaningful or as good as we think about. So we need to raise their standards of living. We have to partner with them in helping their efforts in keeping the country clean. We have to appreciate and welcome the initiatives of creating public awareness through posters, short films, videos, and then you have seen those films of Toilet Prem Kahani and then Prem Katha or Padman. Very sensible social messaging through the most important and a very strong presence of films and media that helped sensitizing us. Uh, these aspects are taught in our schools also for sensitizing our children. Even that is a very good effort on the school side to sensitize our children. Now, as parents, as teachers, and as fellow human beings, teach children from their young age to participate in activities of maintaining personal hygiene, develop a habit of participating at home in Swachhata activities. Do not pamper children by avoiding them to do so, and change their mindsets that this is not a menial job and this is his responsibility also. So the students and faculty who are teaching technical courses in this country should sensitize their students to take up projects in finding innovative and creative solutions to help in realizing a society which is healthy, happy, and lives as one community. This is what I intend to through the NSS students who can help in this process. Now, having said all these things as an introductory thing, now, we had a wonderful lecture in the morning which did touch upon the technicalities and the statistical information about the availability of water, how should water be conserved, and how it should be refurbished for the community to live happily, for the country to go progress. Now, I tried to give a presentation on this. My main core topic is on sanitation, and I'll have to talk about sanitation aspects. So I was wondering how do I start with it. Then I started with filing out things and then trying out, figure out what does WHO say, what does the WASH program say, and what are the various organizations who are running this show of sanitation, ensuring our lives to be very, very convenient. So let's start with the very idea of saying what is sanitation. How do you define sanitation? I think everybody is able to see this. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible and your slide is visible.
Right. You can see this. Okay. My dear participants, the basic definition of sanitation is given here. It's nothing but that you will have to maintain hygiene, means of promoting health through prevention of human contact with the hazards of waste, as well as the treatment and proper disposal of sewage wastewater. Human excreta is supposed to be the source of infection and an important cause of environmental pollution. Every one of us create this kind of um, human excreta, and then every day in and day out they did calculations on how much of excreta is generated across the world, and then it's a mind-boggling number. And even let's not go into the numbers, but then it is a daily routine. We have to do it, and then all the issues about health, the pandemic problems, or unhealthy conditions prevail when this human excreta is something which we are unable to separate it from the human habitats. That makes it we need to have a proper sewerage system, and it should not pollute the environment, and it should be safely taken to such areas where it can be either recycled or it can be ending at that point. So that makes it, the process itself is very complicated. It is not just about my personal hygiene alone, but this is about the community itself and how we are going to treat the human excreta or the wastewater or the grey water or the garbage that we create at each point. How does it get disposed of? So this is a very, very important aspect of it, and then this is how it is defined. Now, going to the next slide, I gave you some reasons. Some pictures I tried to collect just to make it more interesting to you that how you can create, how these basic processes happen, where you have a pest control mechanism, then you have garbage cleaning and dumping yards, and then how do you pack things so that it can be moved to some other areas. So what do you see? Is to provide a healthy living environment for everyone and to protect the natural resources and to provide safety, security and dignity for people when they defecate or urinate. So that this makes that we have to live with it. We have to ensure that these facilities are made available, and then we are able to remove all the bad elements into which are created at home can be disposed of in a safe way. So this is where we are looking at this. Now, as I said, it creates a lot of health hazards. I've already told you the list which will happen. And then sanitary systems aim to protect protect human health by providing a clean environment that will stop the transmission of disease, especially through the fecal oral route. So oral hygiene is equally important as the fecal things that we are going to work on. So these are health hazards. I try to sensitize on you, and then the sanitary systems will try to protect you if properly taken care by having water as the inlet and then draining out all these things at the outlet. So I have given you some advantages which comes out of sanitation. Definitely, it improves the environment as a surrounding us. It allows to have clean drinking water, and good sanitation would prevent infections. Uh, Naturally, we have to practice good hygiene. I think everybody these days are very much worried about sanitization of hands and then try not to touch everything. So a simple habit of washing hands goes a long way towards preventing such diseases. So today, I think we are sensible, but after this pandemic goes, probably we forget all these basic things, and then we start touching everything. We even eat food without even knowing that this is going to create a problem for my health, so on and so forth. So, this is how we are looking at the advantages. You see, a picture is given. So this is what the call given by the Prime Minister. At least a small space like this and a proper disposal system for every human being is a requirement. But then statistics says 22% of the world's population do not have access to these basic facilities where it is necessary. So where do they go? It's an open defecation, and you all understand what is open defecation, how it creates a problem. Even those, I have got some wonderful videos showing you what goes wrong if you don't have proper disposal systems or proper lavatories and others. How it's going to affect your life. Then, from the childhood, we have been taught how to use a dustbin, but we either dump it properly, or we litter it all around, or the animals, dogs and others, they come around and then um, ensure that these things are again spattered around. So we need to train our children to properly use and allow these dustbins to be kept in a place where it can be safely taken back. So again and again, I've been talking about. So this talks about the health and health hazards, and also it is documented. I'm very specifically mentioning it. This is documented that this is going to be a hazard for our economy also. If the human being is not healthy, happy, and communities are not happy, what kind of progress are we going to make? So now the question is, we have to invest. Who will invest in sanitation? But then remember, I'm making it emphatically clear to all my NSS volunteers that investing in the sanitation is not only having a positive economic returns, it also creates jobs and it contributes to a vibrant economy. But if you don't do that, the other way around, it will have a negative impact on a nation's economy. So it's a very important aspect. Though we don't even want to discuss about sanitation, we don't intend to discuss about these aspects. But remember, it's going to change the face of the country if we are investing very nicely into this area, and definitely our lives will improve, and we'll be contributing to the GDP of the country. I gave you this. Again, I'm giving you another clipping which will tell you the economic values of sanitation. Now, it is said that the sanitary infrastructure is a very expensive thing. It involves the government, it involves the civic agencies, and this is the cost that we pay for a flat also. If the flat is raised, the infrastructure around it should have all these things. This is what we go to a new place and see whether water is coming in or not, whether disposal systems are there or not, how our kitchen and bathrooms are created. How is this environment? So we pay a lot of money to this also without knowing that it is not a part of the. We don't take it into our consideration. But believe me, almost 40 to 50% of the cost goes into all these facilities only. If I spend a crore rupees on buying a flat, I'm anyway spending around 40% of it for these facilities only. So it has a lot of economic value. It may be expensive as you look at it. The returns on this are huge, and then we should be looking at these things. So these, if not followed, it will be detrimental to all these sectors. Some are listed here, but it is not only these sectors, it will be affecting every sector, every household. Now, job losses, industrial failures, health and agricultural, tourism sectors. Now, this is what it is. Just for your sensitization, I just brought these lines to you that if you spend $3, you're going to get $34 in the investment that you have done. You see the huge returns that you're going to reap if you, yes, it is almost 10 times or more than that you're going to do if you invest in water and sanitation, depending on the technology and region. Because this is specifically told about technology and region because each sanitation facilities of a particular area is not the same. The village may be looking at it differently. The municipalities are looking at it differently. The cities, they look at it in a different ways. It is also additionally said there is a 7 to 1 benefit to cost ratio by providing this basic water, sanitation, and these things. So that makes it is not only the tangibles are in returns of money, which improves your GDP, the other aspects are 1 to 7. This is the WHO report. The 7, which includes the most important thing is health. And without health, the whole world is now kneeling down under the influence of this COVID-19. This is another very important. You can imagine once a pandemic arrives and you have seen the lockdown situation and you have seen the huge losses that have happened, what happened to our GDP and these things. So, to these aspects, and then it is very, very important to note this has a lot of return to give to us. So, you need to work on this economic value also. And then you see here, just to sensitize you on other important aspects, the report says, is that water alone and we can create 42% of world's jobs. So water treatment, water distribution, water related, whatever activities under 42%, that makes it 1.35 billion jobs are there. They're heavily dependent on water. And then 36% are moderately dependent on water. That makes it the sewage part or the other grey water or other removing all of. So put together, you see that a lot of cost involved in it and a lot of money can be pumped into it in these jobs or into this understanding that water is a very important source and a revenue earner also. Now, the wastewater is not now used as a waste. You understand this another important aspect of sanitation, that they are not, earlier they were only worrying about how to dispose, all these things. But there are three phases of waste management. One, the waste management involves recycling. So that makes it, there are many of those items that we throw can be recycled. So it need not be a waste, it can be converted to wealth. And the second aspect, which we may not appreciate in the way we are looking at it, the garbage or the way we are looking at the fecal output of the human this thing, that these, if you look at it, it is they have very good organic chemicals, valuable organic chemicals. But then we can't keep it at our place, but it has to be removed to a place, to a far off place where it doesn't create a health hazard. Recycling has to be done in such a way that it's going to help. And today's world is looking at all this biomass. We call it as biomass, and it's a part of biomass. The current trends are to try out collecting all this garbage and the wastewater or so on and so much so forth, convert it into a biogas, and then create an environment where we can generate energy too. So these are ways of generating wealth. So when people say waste management, I normally am surprised the kind of opportunities that we have in that. It creates a lot of wealth. So I would rather say it is wealth management rather than waste management. Looks very funny to say all these words, but the reality is that we have to appreciate. Now, as I said, energy can be recovered from wastewater through anaerobic digestion, which is in the form of a biogas that can be used directly for cooking or heating or converting into electricity. So this is where people are doing a lot of research and are trying to find out ways and means through technology how we can really convert this waste into wealth. And then this also adds up indirectly. If you see the other aspects of current energy generation, there are all pollutants are there. There are problems. So safe, clean energy comes through biogas, and this can be one of the aspects we need to look into. So besides water and energy, as I already told you about the nutrients, the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus can be recovered from wastewater or fecal output. So nitrogen and phosphorus are the key components of fertilizers. Everybody of us know, but it requires a lot of mining and energy intensive processes to develop this nitrogen and phosphorus which we use for cultivation. So I don't recommend to say, or the WHO doesn't recommend that all this waste should be drained to the nearest farmlands. It is not correct. It has to be processed in such a way that it doesn't become a health hazard, and still we'll be able to utilize this for generating good crops or whatever you call it. So having sensitized you with all these aspects and how we can make out, then let's say, is it my personal responsibility with all these aspects? No, there are agencies which will take care of them, but the intent is to sensitize you that we also contribute to this garbage, and we as individuals should also be sensitized to these aspects. I try to do that. Now, to my astonishment, I do know during my studies or during my teaching assignments, I come from a technology area, but I never knew that sanitation does have this my 8 different varieties of sanitation. I was totally puzzled to see, but then they're all common sense. When we go through each of them, we understand that each one contributes to the same core sanitation problems are solved. So the first one we tried to talk about is community sanitation. So far, so good. We did talk about that only. Then there are a few more intricacies into it. They call it as a community-led total sanitation. Then they have what is called as container-based sanitation, and there is another sanitation model called the ecological sanitation. Then we have, as I sensitized you, there are situations where we have emergency situations like tsunamis or earthquakes, where a lot of people, lakhs of people get to a lot of problems because they don't have those sanitary facilities available to them, and we have noted that this leads to stagnation of water, leads to problems of health, pandemics are risen. So there are situations where we need to think about emergencies, and then emergency sanitation mechanisms are different. Then we have environmental sanitation. So this sounds very close to ecological sanitation, but then there are slight differences between them. Then we have what are called as on-site sanitation and then sustainable sanitation. There are these variety of sanitation models are there. Then when we start digging into each of them, we find very interesting things happening in each of the cases. Let's see the first case. Now the community sanitation means the work we do to keep our environment clean. So we must live in a healthy, clean environment. So there are some activities we need to do in order to live in a clean environment. As good citizens, we must not litter the environment with dirty things. We should prevent human contact with vehicles is a part of sanitation. Hand washing with soap is also a part of the process. So this is where all my as individual, we can participate into it. This we call it as a community sanitation, which everybody follows these sanitary methods, keeping oneself clean, keeping their environments clean. This, when expanded or exploded, it requires what is called as a community sanitization. So this is basically the idea about. Now, what is community-led total sanitation? It's an innovative methodology for mobilizing communities to completely eliminate open defecation. So this is where we have geared up in 2014 to ensure that this country becomes an area where there is no open defecation. We eliminate completely open defecation, which is not true. As I said, 22%. And the world's population still have these problems of not having the basic amenities or the improvised methods of sanitation. Now, these communities are facilitated to conduct their own appraisal and analysis of open defecation and take action to become ODS. So you need to do this through lot of education models only. So people may be knowing it, people may be habitual to such open defecation models, but still it is our responsibility to ensure that everybody, there are so many missions that have been taken by the government, I'm not listing them now, but Swachhata Abhiyan is very well known to every child who is listening to me and every faculty who is trying to understand this particular lecture. Okay, now this is a third one. Wherever there are no sanitary facilities available, there's no proper water connectivity or sewage connectivity or disposal mechanism, which is a costly solution. There are third world countries and some parts of this country where we are unable to provide these mechanisms for safe disposal or water treatment, so on and so forth. Without water, can't think about sanitation. Without water, we cannot think about even removing these waste things, drain them out to proper. And in Delhi, we have seen a lot of these things collected to a large nalas. We have seen one is available at behind the university. We have a very big nala where they collected wastewater is, and then you find a lot of not only water but lot of other waste being drained into this particular thing. I think one important aspect is we should not allow solids to be flown into liquids. So we should ensure that proper segregation of these things happen. Otherwise, we are running into a mess. So this is what the intent is, that in the disposal system they don't have anything. So they use a container, put it as a on the below the toilet seat, and then this excreta can be fillable, removable containers are used, and this is one of the methods which is used in some countries where they cannot afford to have given these facilities to all. So, statistically, 50% of people in the world are not having proper sanitation or improved sanitation. They have one letter word. There are two words. One is basic sanitation. One is called the improved sanitation. I think Delhi is enjoying improved sanitation methods, whereas some places they have basic methods, and in some cases they don't have anything. So you can look at the next one. It's called as ecological sanitation, which is the age-old practice over centuries or since the civilization has started. What do they do? In order to ensure this technology, it protects humans and ecosystem health while preventing water pollution, conserving energy, and capturing nutrients. You see that ecological things don't just dump and then send it out. You convert this into nutrients in recycling process where this treated water can be utilized either to your gardens or to irrigate farmhouses, and then this recycled water uh, is used for majority of these reasons, which is not drinkable safe water, but then can be used for conserving energy and capturing these nutrients. So this is how our age-old methods are, and since they have not become safe now, so we treat them as no good solution. And when we have started living in clusters in cities, we understand that this space is not available, and it has to be somehow sent out to larger spaces outside the city to keep the human beings fit. And I did talk about emergency situations or sanitation methods. So any disaster situations require a proper waste management resources, which can be again mobile models. We have seen so many mobile toilets available somewhere in the city also. Earlier we used to see a lot of them. Now I don't find them much. But then at emergencies, this is one of the way you can safely remove it, send it to spaces outside. Now, coming to the next definition, environmental sanitation means the art and science of applying sanitary, biological, and physical science principles and knowledge to improve and control the environment and factors therein for the production of health and welfare of the public. I think this is where all our concentration should be. I said you can create wealth out of it. You see there, it's talking about the art and science of applying sanitary, biological, and physical science principles. So I think if we integrate all of them, it will, I think, improve the GDP by maybe 20% or 25%, which is a very, very important aspect that is subject to be understood. by my children here and the faculty who can sensitize them like this. Now, the next one is an on-site sanitation model. So it is defined as a system in which the excreta and wastewater are collected and stored or treated on the plot where they are generated. I think in villages and in some middle towns, we find this method a bigger pit is driven, and then all the waste is pumped into this pit, and beyond which there is no treatment, and it happens on its own. So this is called as an on-site sanitation model, where this is not drained or sent it to sewage systems. They are we have 5 villages under IP University, wherein we did this survey, and 100 of our children have done a 100 days program in which some of the affiliated colleges were also involved for understanding the processes. Now, when we see drain systems. The drain systems should not have the wastewater and the grey water and the they call it as black water, the one which comes with fetus and others, fecus and others. So all these are drained in the same this thing. So this is a bigger health hazard if you do this kind of thing. So this villages don't have this proper sanitary facilities. What do they do is to let out all this water into go into the agricultural lands, which again is a bigger area of health problems. So then you have sustainable sanitation. So now again, when we say sustenance, we know every ingredient or every element in the world, the 5 elements, they are not to be treated, ill-treated, I would rather say. You should be able to use it like the nature as a cycle. Let us follow the cycle and ensure that you get water back from the water cycle. All these things are possible. Like sanitary waste can go back to the earth. Earth will create your energy back to you, and you're going to use it. So they call it a sustainable sanitation model, in which the sanitation system can be economically viable. Very important. If you invest, you're going to get returns out of it. This is exactly the statistic that they're talking about. It is economically viable. It is socially acceptable. It is technically and institutionally appropriate and protect the environment and natural resources. If this is the model that we were looking at, so we need to invest a lot into this sanitary systems and then ensure that these things. Okay, so if you look at the basic sanitary service, what do I want? What do I want? I want the facilities to safe disposal of this, as well as the ability to maintain the hygienic conditions, wherein I can do other services of garbage collection, collect the industrial and hazardous waste, separate them or segregate them, have wastewater treatment and disposal. This is exactly the basic model we are looking at, but it involves a lot of costing. So alternate solutions are also that. So what we are using currently is a sanitization model, where we talk in terms of toilet and latrines, is currently deployed in a way to contain and or treat human excreta. So this is called grey water, as I already pointed out. So this is one of the ways by we drain out all these things, right? How can we improve sanitation? I have talked many of the aspects of it. The improving sanitation, the basic fundamental thing is, how do you separate the human excreta from human contact? So if this happens with every individual, every individual remains healthy. Otherwise, he becomes one of the reasons for the problem. He himself becomes a carrier of this problem. So that is why we are worried today. I'm not talking about excreta or this thing. We are talking about a virus. Even virus similarly flows as this the one we are discussing. So we need to understand that this also has to be taken care of properly. So you need to have pipe sewer system, composting toilets, septic systems we call them, and then you should have a proper flushing into sewer or safe enclosures. This is very, very important cycle if we want to be happy. Now, the second and foremost important aspect is keeping your personal hygiene. Many of us do take bath in the morning and evening, but there are many who don't do it, and there are many who rely on other alternate methods to show that they are hygiene, but they are not. So, personal hygiene is very, very important, and certain things are already in the market, and everybody is telling you that this. What are the benefits? I told you the benefits are also given there. So this is how you can. Now, poor sanitation, again, this is the same thing. You should know how to have access to safe water. You should not drink contaminated water so that your body remains healthy. The and then the household water treatment and safe storage has to be taken care. This is how. Hand washing. There are 7 steps you have to adopt to this 7-step process. What they call, every mother does it at home, every father to some extent. And then I'll give you an interesting thing that since the last 3 months I've really understood the importance of sanitation because you have no help, household help there. It's all thanks to the better half who was taking care of it through employing people. Now it is a situation where you don't have people, you have to do it all your own, and then this is the time when probably in my life I've involved myself all these days trying to understand, figure out, and helping, trying to look at it. These are the 7-step processes. You were to empty your trash every day morning. You have to do it. You have to do high dusting your environment, sanitize your places. I think this is very, very important these days. When we are entering our house or going from house, you have to have spot cleaning. You have to have restocking of your supplies because some of them may have dropped to a level where it can't be consumed, so on and so forth. You have to maintain your bathrooms as clean as possible. You have to mop your floors, hand hygiene and inspection, removing of liners and reline always. So these are known to everybody. This is called the 7-step process where if you practice at home and it becomes. Now this already I have told you what is environmental sanitation. I don't need to look at it. Now how can we maintain that also I told you. What is that? You want to maintain an environmental sanitation process, then hand hygiene that's given to you. Now we are under the restrictions of covering your nose and mouth when you're coughing or sneezing. This is all about coughing and sneezing, but this is now we are in a situation of COVID-19. We need to even cover our nose, even if we are not coughing or sneezing, but to keep ourselves safe from others. The third thing, as already pointed out, personal hygiene is very, very important. And then taking care of your children and older adults to maintain personal, and you have to help them. I think the mothers know very well that using proper food preparation and storing also adds to the beauty. And then keeping dishes and utensils clean is also a pro. So this is all about sanitation at home. I think there is no reason for you to say it is not my job. It is all our job. Uh, our mothers are doing it. Other family members are doing it. We also should join and then be a part of this daily regimen at your home. You may say, I don't have time, I have to study. You will have all time available to you, provided you plan your day. You plan it your day by saying that I'll give 1 hour of my time, take an oath to my mother, to my family members, and I will not put this onus on others alone. I'll also take care of certain access beyond personal hygiene. Personal hygiene, anyway, anybody does it, but we are going to do that. So, what are the steps again for this thing? You have to inspect, identify, and then make a breakdown of it. Sweeping, flushing, washing, all this again repeatedly told to you so that you get sensitized to the very idea. When will you understand? This is the right time you people have to understand. And then I gave you the ill effects of poor sanitation within the community. You see there, 5 lakh child deaths is a huge number because of diarrhea. And as I told you, 2.4 billion people, 40% of the global population are still forced to go for open defecation and lack of adequate facilities. And then the stored water also is another source of infection in the absence of hygiene. So you have to keep your stored water also hygiene so that it doesn't create another health hazard for us. Then you'll see overall decreased disease incidence will depend on a combination of all the aspects which are doing, you are spending time to understand. It is a combination of sanitation, hygiene, water, and then wastewater management. They all improve the effective behavior, and they have been proved with several surveys that until unless we maintain all these things, the human health may not be good. I don't need to sensitize you on this aspect, but then this also is another way of sanitizing yourself. Because if you want to maintain your personal health, good food, drinkable water becomes an important source for keeping yourself healthy. So in this process, food sanitation becomes another important aspect in safe handling of food during preparation or cleaning utensils, your equipment, your appliances, your storage facilities, your kitchen and dining room, and then particularly talking about food, right? Then what are the basic practices every mother does at home? At times, or many of us also have the practice of cooking ourselves, but we do cook only to satisfy our, satiate our um, belly, but we don't do after that. After that, it is not your responsibility. This is majority of the um, boys, girls, and fathers do. I don't say mothers, but fathers definitely. So you have to do these four steps: clean, all the vegetables you have to clean, separate, segregate, cook it to a safe temperature, and then chill it to a refrigerator promptly. So these are some aspects of keeping your food safe and you consume the right food. Our ancestors have a wonderful mechanism of doing it, but today we rely on refrigeration and other methods. So it goes out of my context of saying you all that, but then there are ancient methods which are very powerful methods and they keep us healthy. And over centuries, people were healthy, but because they followed all these basic steps. Okay, and now the moot question is, what about the rural sanitation? Because nobody really cares for it. 65,000 odd villages, and how do we improve their sanitary systems? Now, you have to accelerate sanitary coverage in rural areas. Many of us do come from rural areas, and I don't need to explain. We did have different variety of waste disposable systems. We ourselves knew it, and then probably the children who are born and brought up in cities may not be knowing it. So we need to generate a push from the people. See here, the ideas can be that don't expect everything from the government. Start working at a community level and try to demand the country once you are ready to mentally prepared to have such a system, and then go for the cost analysis, and then you take a pledge that we will not have any open defecation. Then the government in today's context between 2014 till date, they're very serious and they're promoting this kind of an activity, and everybody is allowed to construct a safe sanitation mechanism at home. Then the other solutions are you use a low cost sewerage system and avoid open defecation. There are so many methods available. Out of those 8 methods I did tell you, there are very low cost solutions available and costly solutions also available. Now, the use of conventional agricultural methods of using untreated water, cow dung and other animal excreta and urine for natural farming and generation of biogas plants. So here we have a way out where we can generate wealth out of this waste which is created in a village. The volume may not be much, but then you have variety of reasons for looking at them, because their water supply system may not be so good, their sanitary systems may not be so good, and these two, when not in place, are really going to create a problem for the health and safety of people. So I think this is a wonderful solution. People can think in these lines and try find out local. So there were several local solutions that were done. Biogas plants were created earlier, but then it is easy to use a cooking gas today rather than maintaining a biogas plant. But then it should be at a community level, not at a home level, of generation of electricity, of using the treated water for farming and so on and so forth. That will be wealth creation for a village, may not be for a city of a magnitude of Delhi. Okay, so coming to the closing part of it. So what are the factors affecting this and how do I write a sanitation plan? So everybody can understand from their own perspective. If it requires an environmental thing, then you need environmental engineers. Environmental engineering people are there who knows how to work out with the soil type and the porosity, what is the groundwater level and the hydraulics, and the distance of surface water influence on the degree of contamination. So when these things studied in a systematic way will help us to identify a particular region and then what kind of sanitary technologies can be used given the ground conditions, particularly the groundwater level, the soil permeability and stability, and other important considerations. So these are two important aspects in choosing a particular plan and then doing it. So then the plan or you have to have a plan. You must identify the areas of establishment where to keep what, how should the things to be taken out, and then how do we safely take care of your homes, food and non-food contacts, how are these going to be improvised on this. This is how it is. I think today everybody's lips knows what is sanitizer. Every hands are cleaned every 10 to 20 times. And then what is a sanitizer? Some basics are given here. That these are some three different sanitizer solutions. Chlorine concentration 50 to 100 ppm. Chlorine-based sanitizers are the most commonly used sanitizers. Then you have a quaternary ammonia concentration as per the manufacturer's instruction. Then iodine is also used in bathing. Now they say this much of percentage of alcohol if it has, they are good sanitizers also. So these several factors they influence the effectiveness of the chemical sanitizers. They should not be too concentrated or should not be used in temperatures or the contact time, the kind of water hardness and pH. So every sanitizer will have a mix of these solutions and water has to be mixed into it. And we should see it should not be too mild, should not be too harsh so that our hands are getting into a problem. Now, if I look at it at a global perspective, going beyond sanitation, let's see what are the major environmental problems. You will find that sanitation becomes one of the major aspects that makes our environment environmentally problematic for us. So we do know these are the aspects. One is the ozone depletion, greenhouse effect, and global warming. Then you have desertification, deforestation, loss of biodiversity. See here, disposal of waste. If this is not to be taken on a war footing, we are going to witness pandemics like this. Or this may be not the one of the reasons, but this can be contributing to that particular thing. And the next one we are all going to head towards is the air pollution, wherein this air pollution has now become a big business, and then everybody is latching on to this kind of a solutions. How do you give safe and clean air to you? Tomorrow's children may be carrying a box at the back of them, which allows them to have 4 hours or 5 hours of oxygen. By the time the mothers are worried, 5 hours have passed on. Now my child is requiring another bottle, so on and so forth. These will be new problems that mothers will have in this particular thing. So these are other aspects. Water scarcity, this is a very big problem. Water pollution is another big problem. And then overpopulation, we are a burgeoning population, and then catering to them becomes a very big issue. So, and then we are cutting what do you call, cutting down trees and forest area cover. So biodiversity is lost. This is another important aspect. So out of all the listed problems, definitely sanitation and then scarcity of water and pollution will be remaining with us for centuries to come. And if we want to have a safe exit to our children, we need to be sensitive on all these aspects and then do it. I just close down by talking about these aspects. The current scenario of sanitation across the world. I did talk in between that 2.4 billion people, roughly one third of the world, do not have access to improved sanitation. And then you have 4.5 billion people do not have access to safely managed, that is basic, this is safely managed. And then you have 3.15% of the world still practicing open defecation, and 40% of the world does not have access to basic washing facilities also, or hand washing facilities also. Now, I give a list of roles that an NSS volunteer can do in sanitizing their own area and the locality, and what they can do in post-pandemic situation. I don't know how long I have taken your time without even uh, how much time is left for me? Hello.
So you can continue.
I don't, how long I'll be able to allowed to do so. Anyways, non-conventional energies, low-cost housing, sanitation, nutrition. So all these aspects can be studied in depth, and I think we can spend 1 hour time a day for our own purpose, for the safety of self and the community. Spend 1 hour and see from the perspective of your learning in your colleges, either technical or non-technical, in what way I can take up a project or do something which will help the environment, which will help promoting and helping other children, like awareness programs, so on and so forth. Now, you can do miracles by using creativity in you for spreading awareness on various issues. Each one of you, God has given you a gift. Somebody can paint well, somebody can write good poems, somebody can, and I can list a lot of them to you. You can sing well. So, all these aspects are there with you. Why don't you utilize it for helping sensitization of these aspects in your own way, in your neighborhood, or to your friends, or as a community, or as an NSS volunteer? Give this information to all. And today we are not allowed to do so, but then you are very much interested in Nukkad Nataks and street plays. So we hope we'll get back to action soon as communities, as students go. Probably we'll be able to see the day where we do street plays in rural areas in context of rural life and social evils. There are so many aspects like female feticide, poverty, adverse effects. These are not straight away talking about sanitation, but you can talk about sanitation and how you can create open defecation free societies, how you can create a toilet for you, how safe disposal systems can be created in your place, and all these aspects can be helped out so that how technology can help these people go on. So these literary, cultural, awareness programs, all these things you can do. Um, like there are so many others you can list. I mean, I have given a general list, not pertaining to only sanitation, but then we can do. Now, if we do this regular activities, we can push the agenda of making our villages open defecation free and have improved sanitation. So we can do that if we can do this. So adoption of villages can be another thing. Like the university has adopted 5 villages, each college under us, and whoever is listening to me, coming through education model, please adopt villages surrounding you so that they are not far away, but children can go there, conduct some activities there. Like you can do a survey of the villages, identify their problems, and take up projects, and then take it up as a final year project for yourselves. Do it either it can be arts program or a science program or a technology program. Anybody can do that. Develop projects, evaluate the project, give it to the civic agencies or to the government of India. Even our Honorable Prime Minister is ready to receive any suggestions from you, and the project ideas that you're going to give will help you. Similarly, we can do the same for slums also. So all this can be done. Okay. So in doing such activities, the most fundamental thing that my NSS volunteer should know is that don't give a feel that you are doing something good for them and hence they should respect you. Not necessarily. So you need to know how to create a rapport with the people in the project area. You should also know, identify their needs, problems and resources of the community. When I say resources of the community, you can club in your resources with their resources so that you come out a meaningful plan and execute the same. Now, the same experiences that I had, I will definitely share with you. Similarly, your experiences, you can always share with others so that they understand that they also can do this kind of an activity. And then the last slide of this talks about the 2 manuals. I could have rolled out those manuals for you. But then these are duties, these are there for you. Now, how do you segregate? You have all this paper, glass, plastic, metal. You can do this segregation at the home level itself. You don't expect that others should try, figure out, and exchange these things into different things. It's not going to help. So, some pictures are given here so that you understand the health risk that you're going to have. So, this picture may not be very clear, but trying to show you the starting point of the fecal output and in what ways it is transferred to a healthy person. It is showing you through your bees are showing and some waste materials thrown around, water thrown around, no proper sanitation. The flies are moving towards your food, and all this is affecting the health of the person. So this is a health risk. I'm going to send you some videos also. Maybe they are not opening here, but it's not possible straight away to open many links here. See here the microbes. There are ways of avoiding them and use good hygiene. So these are hygiene standards shown, some pictorial given to you, so that cooking is shown, defecating places are shown, personal hygiene is shown, and how do you take care of your children and their cleanliness is also shown to you. Here, in the majority cases, you see women are shown. I believe, I strongly believe that men should be replacing these pictures, and they also should be a part of this whole process. So don't litter outside. This is not to be done. Now, this is what is extended warriors. My NSS volunteers, they are now called as extended warriors. They're going to extend their services to the paramedics or medical people or the security people or whoever it is. Or the sanitary people, you're going to help them. Raise the broom, help them. So this is what the call is. So this is what it is coming to a close. That's it from my side. I can roll down those videos, very wonderful videos, which in a nutshell talks about whatever I spent time with you. All that will be shown in few slides or few rolled pictures, and it's very interesting to get to that subject, try and understand. If a person like me who has never dealt a subject like this is so much interested into it, and as an NSS program coordinator, I'm so happy that you have very patiently listened to me. And if you have any questions, I'll definitely answer them. Meanwhile, I'll try to upload those videos also so that you can enjoy. At the end, what I'm going to suggest is, before summing up, this is a prescription that we as a country can become global leader once again, provided we invest heavily in sanitation, water conservation, and waste to wealth management to achieve 100% improved sanitation and create a happy community free from health hazards. This is the prescription, and this is the task we have to own, and we have to be a part of this particular journey. Otherwise, it's going to. And then educate everybody. Whoever is coming around you, please do educate them. Send this information to everybody whom you know, and then sensitize everybody and be a part of it. Until unless we be a part of it, the NSS volunteers have to be role models. If you don't follow it, if you have any other reservations, please discuss it with me. I'm available to you. Probably I'll sensitize you through my own experience in my life, where as I already said, my mother never allowed me to do all these things. But then it is very, very important subject, and one has to understand this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's always a treat to listen to you, sir. It's a very apt and appropriate topic and the presentation of course. Can we have few questions now? It's time
Yeah,
for
please.
queries. Pushpata, are you there?
Am I
We can
audible?
quickly have a question
You
answer
are
session.
audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much
You are
for
audible.
this session.
Please go ahead.
Very interesting and enlightening. Further understanding, I would like to put up a few questions which have been asked by our attendees. First
Okay.
question, which is asked, just a second. The
It's
first
not
question
audible
is
yet.
asked by
Please.
She asked that how can people in the slum areas can maintain sanitation as their life exists upon
Yeah.
minimal resources.
Yeah, I understand. Now, this is exactly what I was saying. When we talk about slums, when we talk about spaces where there is lot of density of people and they don't have proper water and sanitation facilities, it is a big problem, not only to them but to the whole community. That is why we said we have to go for 100%. There is no let out on this. When we talk about sanitation, sanitation should be for all. There is no let out for this. Now, when we talk about slums and villages where there is open defecation or problems like that, as I said, there are methods which are low cost solutions. And then these low cost solutions should be implemented in order to ensure that their health is also safe. If they are safe, believe me, we are safe. If they are not safe, we are nowhere safe in the process of safety. And such things are going to create a problem. As a community, we are going to face a lot of problems.
Yes, sir, we agree to that. On the same line, I have another question, which is that can you please throw some light on the high dropout among
I think the way we can understand is, I think Batman is a wonderful film which talks about this problem of women, and then what kind of alternate solutions. They were talking about the person who has a mission, has contributed to this to come out with low cost sanitary pads, and then things are like that. Now, I think many people are inspired that this is technological way of looking at things. He tried a different way so that the cost of that will come down to a very small number. Or I think in many places the government is also giving this sanitary pads for free. I'm not sure about where is it happening and how efficiently it is running. But this is another way of solving that problem. So that these natural problems of women should not be the reason for school dropout or the dropout rate goes up. So for me, both are equal and both should get equal opportunity for studies. And the second prescription, I would rather put it this way, which I did not complete in this. I want the government should come up with, we do have a right to education policy. I would want right education also to be taught to the children, and they should make education free till the age of 21. So this will improve everything for the society at large. But this is a big asking from my side. It's not that easy. But then if we make our will, the governments are nothing but the will of the people. If the will of the people will prevail, then the two things will come into place. One, 100% sanitation for all, and free education for up to 21 years for all. It will be a wonderful, healthy nation, and you can't even imagine the kind of GDP growth you're going to see if these are implemented. You need to have a will. That's it.
we agree, sir. So now, that was hello, but really
Somebody needs to mute that. I think the audibility has gone. Anil, Dr. Anil, audibility is poor. Please check with it. Mute other speakers. Yes. Shushmita,
yes,
yeah, you can ask.
sir. So the question is, what steps does NSS volunteers need to follow for availing sanitary resources in some areas?
Can you repeat the question? I did not get you.
Sure, sir. What steps does NSS volunteers need for availing sanitary resources in slum areas?
What all we can do? Okay. See, the problem is entry to exit. If you look at the exit problems, that means it, the problems are that the sewage problems are there. The water doesn't move out. There are problems there. So we need to teach them how do we create these nalas and other small things so that the drain will go to a different place. Now, when coming to this, everybody relies on the civic authorities because they have to identify a space where all the wastewater goes, and they have to create that kind of a infrastructure. If no infrastructure, it's a big havoc because as a community we'll have to come together. Otherwise, individuals are going to throw. Individuals don't know how to dispose of these things. There is nobody to carry it outside, and the whole area becomes filthy. So we need to have a systematic way of educating them, and probably the students can be the real motivators to identify Islam. Then try see what is the problem there from the start to the end. What are the solutions that we can tell them, and then in telling them why what low cost solutions can be implemented. Can we write something to the higher ups or to the government? As students, they'll be listening to us better. We have written in many cases to directly to the collectors and to the agencies. Then they will start taking the action there. Otherwise, here nobody cares for others. So we have to care for ourselves. And when we say we have to care for ourselves, our neighborhood, if it is filthy, then also we are in trouble. So we have to take care of all this. So low cost solutions have to be implemented there.
I think the last question for the session.
Okay.
It's a buzzing fact that water is going to be the reason for World War III. How some agree with this?
Excuse me. Can you repeat it again?
Sure, sir. So it's
Yeah.
a buzzing fact that water is going to be the reason behind the World War III. As a possible idea.
No, you'll have to repeat.
Sir, it is a buzzing fact that water is going to be the reason behind World War III. How far do you see this as a perceivable idea?
So write it on that. I'm unable to listen to you. Can you write something or
No.
last question is definitely an important question. Either you repeat it once again, or else I may not be answering the right thing. Right?
Hello. So can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
So the last question says that water is going to be the reason behind World War III. Buzzing. Do you agree?
I'll repeat your question. If it is correct, you let me know. You are
Yes,
asking
sir.
water is a scarce resource. Water is scarce, and tomorrow's world will have fights for water only.
Yes.
Right? If water is not there, life is not there. So the best solution is conserve your water, recycle properly, and then use, as I said, green water and wastewater, what do you call it, dark water, to be recycled and then replenish. Replenishment is the key to the success. You should know how to replenish, how to use, how to dispose, and how to replenish. How do you get back to the original source? So this is how the cycle goes on. I think environmental degradation, I gave you 9 points. Some of the points will help you, like afforestation will help in this process. Pollution levels, if you can get down, it is going to definitely improve. So one is interlinked with the other. So we need to save our earth by looking at the totality and not looking at just one aspect. Yes, at the start of it, I very clearly said if water is not available, most of the sanitation facilities are through water only. How do you treat at your home, utensils and other things? Everything depends on water only. So without water, you can't imagine sanitation processes. And the physical garbage movement is maybe done, but that's not the end of the game. You'll have to look at other aspects. So conserve water, very, very important. Safe disposal, very important. Replenishment is the final solution that where you said environmental or ecological sanitation models. They are the key to the success. And if you add technology to that, maybe we reap much more dividends out of it. So the solution is in totality, not in pieces that we can think of. Have I answered that question? Did I answer your
Yes,
question?
sir.
Or?
Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for asking my questions. Thank you very much. Love you all, and make it a habit that you are going to. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thought-provoking and thought-triggering advice, sharing your views, opinions, and valuable interests on the state issue of sanitation. It has been rightly said by you that water conservation, sanitation, management goes hand in hand. We need to find out the ways that all people living on this earth are superlative sanitation facilities. Then you have extensively and comprehensively dealt on sanitation. I'm sure that your address will help us a lot in comprehending that how sanitation is such a pivotal issue, and we are going to adhere by what you have said. Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Now,
And
okay. Now that brings us to the end of this talk 2 session. Before we know that our third talk session will be starting at 4 o'clock. But before that, the feedback form is available. You are requested to fill all the feedback form of talk 1 and talk 2 session. The certificates will be provided only if you feel feedback of all the 3 talk sessions. And this brings us to an end of this thing. Now our third talk session will commence at 4 p.m. So we meet at 4 p.m. and have discussion on another very important issue. Thank you so much. Please fill up your feedback forms so that the certificates are available to you and there is no inconvenience caused. Thanks a lot. We meet at 4 p.m. for the third session now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.